Aimee White with Worthy Written Words, and today we're going to be in our Book of Mormon Wide Margin edition in 3rd Nephi, and we're going to be in chapter 5, verse 13. But this layout is going to cover both sides, so we're going to put one coat of clear gesso on each page, and we just do this by using a paintbrush or a foam brush and cover the page with this clear gesso. Now the first page is curling up because I've already added the clear gesso to it and dried it, so I'm just going to show you me doing it to the second page. And it's okay if it curls, it will eventually go back down as the book is laying flat. It will flatten back out. Now we're going to apply some of these stamps on this page, and we're going to be needing an acrylic block, I'm using Neocolor 2 crayons. It could be watercolors, it could be markers, colored pencils, and then also this archival ink pad. And we're going to put the biggest flower on first, and we're going to put the ink all over that flower, and then we're going to put it in the upper left corner. And if you want to have the whole thing on, you can have the whole thing on. I'm going to have some of the flower off of the page just so there's room for all 3 of them, but you can adjust this to make it look however you want. So after doing the biggest flower, then I'm going to do the medium-sized flower, and I'm going to put that underneath it and also off of the page. And then when that's done, I'm going to do the small flower in as like a trio right here. Now, if you put this on and it comes off and the ink isn't on there like it should, you can do one of 2 things. What I do here is I just do it again, and because it's clear, I can line it up exactly where it needs to go again and try it again and push harder. Make sure that your book underneath is on a flat surface and that it's not raised up because of the binding. Another thing that you can do, which I do later on, is I'll just use a regular gel pen, black pen, and color in the missing parts, and you can't even tell. Another way to look at this is I put the center of each flower in towards the middle so they're all facing each other. Next, we're going to use the long vine with berries on it, and we're going to put this going along the top of this page, so it's going to be horizontal along that top margin. And here's another tip that you can see. I'm wiping off any excess that gets on the acrylic block of the ink so that that doesn't transfer onto my page. And I'm going to put this so that the end of the vine is off of my page, and then it's going to border just the very top part of my page, and you're going to want to push really, really hard. Next, we're going to use the biggest leaf, and we're going to put this underneath the flowers going vertically up and down so that part of it's also hanging off of the page. And when that's put on there, then we're going to get the smaller leaf, and we're going to put it a little up above where that leaf is, in between the flower and the leaf itself. Now I take the smallest leaf and I put it up above next to the berries, but you could also stick it in between these 2 leaves as well. It could go either place. So you can use your personal preference, and you don't have to do any of this the way that I've done it. You can totally do your own thing and have flowers all over the page or do what you want, but this is just how I set this one up. So I do the smallest leaf up above here by the berries. And it actually overlaps the berries, but you can't really tell because of the doodle effect when I'm all done. And then I'm going to place some in the bottom corner of the other page. And I'm going to just do a flower and a leaf. I don't think it matters what size. I know I do the small leaf, but I don't know what size flower I do. So you can just do whatever looks good. Now as I go to do this leaf, I push down the first time and hardly anything transfers. And when that happens, you don't need to panic. Like I said earlier, you can try it again. Because it's clear, you can line it up exactly where it needs to go, and that's what I do here. So first time I push really hard, pull it up, nothing. So make sure that your book is laying flat and not propped up on the binding. And then see, that's where I go and I flatten it because it was propped up. And then, oh, that was a big oops, but I show you later on how I fix that. So then I go and I just push on it again, and I make sure that there's contact between the binding and the stamp. So I drop that stamp right on the words with the ink, and it looks really, really bad. And I will show you in a minute how I fix that. And then when you're done with this, you're going to want to wash your hands so that as we go on to the next step, you're not accidentally smudging ink that has gotten all over your fingers like you can see on mine onto other areas of the page. So now I'm going through with just a regular black Jelly Roll pen. It doesn't have to be from Sakura. That's the brand that I have and that I like. It could be any black pen or marker that would work. A fine tip Sharpie would even work. And I'm just kind of going through and connecting everything so that it looks a little bit more clean. If there's areas that have holes in them that are missing where the stamp should have gone, I'm connecting the dots basically. I'm filling in light areas, and I'm just trying to make it look more cohesive. Now I'm going to start coloring this in. I'm using these crayons, and I'm going to use a water brush pen to kind of fill it in. But if you don't have these crayons, it's kind of they're a little pricey. So you don't have to have these crayons. You could use markers, colored pencils, crayons. You could use watercolors if you prefer that, anything you want. This ink that is in your kit is waterproof. So if you're using your own ink, make sure it's waterproof. Otherwise, when you do this part, the ink is going to smear all over the page. So you can color these in. I'm using a red crayon to color these berries in. You can make them blue to look more like blueberries. You could do purple. You can play around with the colors. I just use my favorite colors basically with the flowers. And I'm going to just kind of fill this in and go over it a couple times to get different layers and to make it richer in color, and so you can just kind of follow along. So I put this title on the top of my page, I'm a disciple of Christ, and then I decide that I want to put little itty bitty circles in between the flowers, and I'm going to do this using a black gel pen. Now there is really no way you can mess this up. You just follow along the flowers and fill in the space. There's no rhyme or reason to it. You can be super messy. At some point I just kind of get going fast and my circles turn more into blobs, and you can't even tell when all is said and done. So if you don't want to take the time to do little circles, you could fill it in all just black, or you could leave it white as is. But I do this all over the top section, and then I do it behind the flower on the bottom right hand side of the layout as well. So then I get to thinking, you know what, I'm going to add another berry section down the bottom of this page. One, because I have some ink smudges there you can kind of see that I wanted to cover up, and then secondly, I just kind of thought, why not? It won't hurt anything. But I don't need the whole stamp, so I'm only putting the part that I want on there on the acrylic pad. Now you want to make sure that the top part of this is clean so that you don't transfer ink where you don't want it. And I'm going to just put this berry right underneath the leaf. And of course I want the scrap paper underneath to protect my pages underneath. Now after I'm done applying this stamp, I'm going to clean it up again using the gel pen, and then I'm going to color it in with the red watercolor crayons. Next, I'm going to attach these stickers that I have left. So the quote I'm putting on the left-hand side, and then I'm going to put the Jesus sticker on the right-hand side. Now with this Jesus sticker, you want to make sure that you put it low enough so that there's enough room for that crown. Otherwise, it's going to be either covering your title or hanging off of your page. So be sure that you put it low enough right above the blue flower. And then the crown, I attached it as a cutout, so I used a glue stick to glue it on top. But for you guys, it's just a sticker, so it's easier, so you just have to stick it right on top. Now this next part is just totally for funsies. I just used my black gel pen and did little dashes around the quote just to help it pop off the page a little bit more and not get drowned into that white background. And I'm just doing little dashes all the way around it. Now we're going to work on the page topper, which is this mirror. So the first thing is I'm cleaning the mirror because it comes dusty and dirty. And then I'm going to attach it to the handheld mirror by using some microdot craft tape. You could use double-sided craft tape. You could probably even use a glue stick, but this is just what I tend to use that I have on hand. So I just covered the round part of the mirror here with this craft tape, and then I placed it on top of the mirror. And then you're going to want to get your hot glue guns heating up, because after that we are going to hot glue this mirror to some felt. Now I'm not putting the hot glue on the mirror itself, I'm just putting it around the paper because there is a height difference. So the hot glue kind of evens out with the mirror. And sure, there's a little bit that got on there, but I'm not really putting a ton of the hot glue on the mirror, just on the cardstock. And then I'm going to use some fabric scissors because they're the easiest to cut through felt, and I'm going to cut this mirror out. Next, I'm going to cut out a little square piece of felt, and I'm going to hot glue the paper clip onto this and put it near the top of the mirror so that I can attach this to my page. Now, when this dries, you can attach it to your page itself. I have this little sticker at the top of the mirror that I tried to use for everybody, but it was really hard to read and it didn't work out, so I ended up taking that off. So you can see that here, but in the final it's been removed. Now going back to fix this part where I have dropped the stamp on the page, I have a lot of these extra books that I use for practice, and this is exactly the kind of situation where I recommend having a book, the exact same book that you use just for emergencies. So I'm going to go into the exact same page in the second book, and I'm going to cut out the verses that I have the ink on, and I'm going to glue it just with a glue stick or with Tech craft tape. I'm going to put it directly on top of the damaged verses, and when all is said and done, you will not even notice that they have been changed. And now the final step is we are going to use a purple highlighter. I have a mild liner highlighter that I like because they don't bleed through these pages and I love the colors. And I'm going to highlight verse 13. And that is going to be it. I hope you enjoyed working with some stamps today and mixing things up a bit. I absolutely love this layout and I hope you do too. Be sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel so that you get all the latest released videos, and we will see you guys next time. Bye!